Congratulations, you did it. Whatever your version of success looks like, whether that's closing that big deal you've been working on, you hit the revenue number for the quarter, you got through that big challenging season, and the thing that consumed you for months and probably even years, to be honest, the thing that so many of your team members and employees were saying couldn't be done, you did it. And the people around you know it. Your team is constantly telling you that, they couldn't have done it without you. Your phone might be blowing up with like congratulatory texts. Like everyone in your world is celebrating it. But here you are standing there and you're just waiting to feel everything else everyone else is telling you, right? And there's just nothing. There's no sadness, no disappointment, just really this quiet, flat emptiness where the feeling was supposed to be in. And you keep waiting for it to arrive, but it doesn't. Now, here's what I actually think is going on there. And I say this because I've watched this happen with the business owners that I work with on the regular. People that are running businesses that are doing multiple seven figures in annual revenue. They have a team of 10, 15, sometimes even 20 or more people, right? And it's not burnout or the fact that they're ungrateful. It's something that most people just never slow down long enough to be able to see. Your outside world and your inside world, they are not matched up. They are not synced up. And they probably haven't been for a very long time. Now, I had a client, and I'm going to keep the details intentionally vague because I do take what gets shared in my coaching sessions very seriously. With this client, they went through one of the most intense seasons that they've ever gone through in business. Something that was a big, massive operational undertaking. There's a very tight timeline to it. And, they were completely locked in. It was a big deal. And when I tried getting them to just, zoom out, look at it from a 30,000 foot view during that season, just to get them to like loosen the grip slightly on the outcome and focus on the process, they pushed back pretty hard. And they said something like, why would I even spend any energy on being okay with not accomplishing this? That's not where the energy should go. The energy needs to go towards getting this thing done. And look, when I heard them say that, I want to be clear. This is not a flaw in them. They are not a bad person. That's just the thing, the identity that built their business. And that drive is something that really matters that's gotten them there. But that same energy, that total commitment to always being in forward motion, to solving the next problem, to making that big thing happen, like it just never turned off, not really. Even when there was nothing left to solve, the engine was still running, searching for the next thing that they needed to push toward or push against. And now this client, they got through the season, they did the thing, they accomplished it, and then they came to me afterwards and they said they felt this emptiness, what they actually described as nothingness on the inside. And as we were talking about on a coaching call and we were breaking it down, my client said that it brought up this one question for them where they were curious, like what's missing in all this? What am I missing? And it wasn't about what's next, but like what were they missing? What they felt and were experiencing led them to feel like something just had to be missing. And I watched them work through this in real time. And the first answer that they really came upon was like relationships, that they were missing deep, meaningful relationships, which, by the way, is true for a lot of people in a position like this. You've been so consumed by the business, accomplishing this goal, that the people in your life have just been getting your leftovers. Whatever is leftover of you, that's what they get. But as we kept going and working through this with this client, underneath the missing relationships was honestly something else, that they were missing this deep, meaningful relationship with themselves. They've been running so hard for so long toward so many things that they just completely lost track of who they actually were when they weren't in the pursuit of some goal. So now here's where I see the same exact thing, just from a different angle and with another client. They're in a different industry, they have different context as far as the story is concerned, but they find themselves in a similar place. They run a business, they're smart, they're capable, they're the person that everyone leans on. And in one of our coaching calls, I had them basically like write out and take an honest inventory around their patterning of their drive, the pressure that they put on themselves, the urgency that they place on everything, and what it's costing them. And when I had them read something back to themselves, they got really quiet. And I asked them a simple question. And I just said, who are you? Like really underneath it all. And here's what they said. I know all the labels that people put on me, but I have no idea who I really am. And then they quietly said, and that's really sad. Now, here's what I want you to hear in both of those stories. The problem that my clients were experiencing underneath it all really had nothing to do with their drive or their urgency to get things done. It was the never stopping, the always pushing, the engine that just never turns off. And that's not a work ethic thing, but it's also been doing another job for them. It's been keeping you and them from ever having to sit with the quiet. Because when things get quiet, something surfaces, right? And it's a question that you just don't have an answer to yet. Not necessarily like what's next or what needs to get done. It's a harder one. Who are you when you are not the person everyone needs? And most of the business owners that I work with or talk to have been so busy becoming the person that their business needs, their team needs, and that their family needs, that somewhere along the way, they just stopped asking that question or at least facing it, right? And the emptiness that they feel after the big win, the numbness when that challenging season ends, the flatness when the celebration dies down, that's not failure. That's the question finally getting loud enough and it's surfacing itself so they could see it. And I'm totally open to being wrong on this, but from what I've seen and experienced, what I think is going on underneath all the urgency, the drive, and the identity of the person who just always gets it done is someone who, genuinely doesn't know what they like anymore. They don't know what they want when nobody's asking anything from them. And they just don't know who they are outside of this role and the roles that they have. It's not a productivity problem. It's not even a delegation problem. And it's definitely not a problem with the team. That's a you problem. And when I say that, I mean that in the best possible way. Because you can't build a real identity on top of a coping mechanism. In the moment that you're willing to question whether the person you've been performing as and showing up as is actually you, that's not the beginning of losing yourself. That right there is the beginning of finding out who you actually are. And it can be the most freeing thing when you actually do it. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking at this point, and I don't have the time for an identity crisis. I've got payroll, I've got clients, I've got a team that needs me. The last thing that I really need is someone telling me that I need to go find myself. And look, I get it, totally valid to say that, right? But here's the thing, you don't have to. Because identity isn't what you think it is. It's not a personality test. It's not going off into the woods and doing a spiritual retreat. The simplest way I've ever heard it put is this. Your identity is just the story that you tell about yourself and the commitments that you hold yourself to. That's it. And right now, the story that you've been telling yourself is, I am the person who gets it done no matter what. I am the one everybody needs. I am the business. And that story honestly has served you. It served you well. It really has. But it's also the only story that you have been running. So when that season ends and when the win lands, the room goes quiet and you can't get out of the story, the emptiness. And that's all it is. So you don't need to figure out who you are. You just need to start paying attention to what you actually want when nobody's asking anything of you, right? And it can be as simple as just one question once a day. Give yourself 5 minutes and just look at it this way. Like if you had 0 responsibilities today, 0, nothing needed you, nobody needed you, business didn't need you, what's the one thing that you'd actually want to do? And like let yourself go wild with it. Like don't think about the productive thing. Don't think about the thing that makes you a better leader. Just the thing that you want. And sometimes think about what you wanted as a kid, okay? this is a great starting point because identity isn't just built in a weekend. It's built in small moments where you actually choose yourself and who you want to be, do it consistently, and then you just notice what that feels like. So if you made it this far and any of this is really landing with you, there's something connected to it that I made a video on recently, and it's called The Most Dangerous Thing You're Refusing to Let Go of. And I'm going to link it to here somewhere on the screen. Check it out, because part of why people stay stuck in this pattern is they're holding on to an identity that's costing them more than they realize. And that video pairs directly with this. So like I said, I'd give it a watch next. And I'll leave you with this. When's the last time that you actually slowed down, asked yourself, not what you needed to do and not what people need from you, but who you actually are, and like took some time and actually answered it with a pen and paper? Not your role, not the labels people put on you or the version of you that shows up to run the business, like just you, yourself. Take away everything else. Like I said, think back to when you were a kid, right? And if you don't have an answer, that's not a problem that you have to fix today, but it might be the most important question that you've just stopped asking. So on that note, I'll leave you here. I appreciate you being here. If you get value from this, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.